Okay, welcome to Into the Channel, a podcast primarily about women's football. Before we hit the pitch, if you enjoy the show or love women's football as much as your boys do, come kick it with us. Subscribe, follow YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you like to watch or listen at ITC_pod on X. I am your host, Dino DeCespedes, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Grant Angle. What is up, man?
Hello, friends. It's April. It's spring. There are good sports happening. Obviously, football is at the top of the list. There's nothing to complain about over here.
Nothing to complain about whatsoever. And a quick bit of housekeeping. Give me a second here. Okay, in Champions League action. Okay, men's Champions League action. Let me make sure I get that. Arsenal 2, Bayern Munich 2. Real Madrid, again, this is the men's. Real Madrid 3, Manchester City 3. Okay, yada, yada, yada. Some important football was played somewhere, I guess. All right, now with that out of the way, let's get to the real football. Mr. Grand Angle, I know you already know. I think we already know. But I'll ask you anyway, where do you want to get started?
Well, buddy, there's really only one place to get started. There we go. Sounds delicious. Smells delicious.
We're going to play two up front today.
Look at you. Cheers to you. That's fantastic. We're going to start with the opening match of the SheBelieves Cup, the biggest sporting event in the state of Georgia in the month of April. A tradition unlike any other, where the USA took on Japan in front of 50,644 fans at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Not too shabby. So I'll zip through this. I mean, this is obviously old news. It happened on Saturday. We're recording this on Wednesday. Japan scored the opener about 30 seconds into the match. But let me just pose this question, understanding that we are operating with the benefit of hindsight now, but how were you feeling after that opening goal went in?
I was into it, actually, because
Nice.
my legit biggest concern was actually the U.S. potentially blowing through this tournament. You know, again, potentially against less than full rosters, maybe overinflating the ego, not what you want for young players. Think about Jaden Shaw, Lily Johannes, Corbin Albert. We'll get into it, but I liked that this U.S. side gained some new experience dealing with adversity.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. We kind of got caught in transition. It's not fluky because Japan is a great team with great players, but kind of the way, the ball kind of like ping pongs back and then immediately goes forward. And like we just kind of got caught on the bad foot. It wasn't any kind of like terrible defending or any kind of howler or any real huge like tactical mistake. It's just a goal that is going to happen sometimes. And the fact that it happened 30 seconds into the match, I could see why people may have been somewhat alarmed by that. But I'm with you, man. I thought USA responded really well. I thought they recognized that, okay, we still have 89 and a half minutes to go. So that's plenty of time to get a goal or two. And I think that if that happened in a match immediately following the World Cup, then I think I probably would have been a little more concerned. But the way they played in the CONCACAF W Gold Cup, I'm with you. I was like, okay, they're going to have to kind of charge back from this. And they did. I thought Japan had a really difficult time handling the high press. Japan had to commit 16 fouls to USA's 7. Oof. And Japan really was just kind of left out there chasing the game. And for anybody who watched the last World Cup or really knows anything about Japan's history as a footballing country, especially on the women's side, they don't chase the game very often. They typically dominate the ball or at least keep possession even. And I thought they just looked, frankly, a little physically overwhelmed against the States.
They were just getting closed down so quickly.
Exactly.
I do have one quibble. I think that goal was a result of tactical decision-making. Obviously, Niswanger playing way, way high up.
Sure.
And I think even in the match against Canada, we saw the same from Crystal Dunn from that same spot. So that's essentially the way that we're deciding to play in these matches. So it's almost like that goal was going to happen eventually. It's kind of like the Vanessa Gio back pass in the Gold Cup where it's like, all right, well, the ball only rolls a third of a mile an hour under these wet conditions. So somebody was going to pay for that. And I think Japan was going to be able to exploit that at some point, which they did. But yeah, a lot to get excited about outside of that. Another cap, another goal for Jaden Shaw, Sophia Smith. I think that Japan performance probably did wonders for her confidence, and she cashed in major on that new confidence. All in all, I think very encouraging if we're just looking at that USA-Japan outcome.
We use the term often. We do it in honor of the great Eric Spoelstra from your Miami Heat. It was a professional win. And it was a professional win over a really great Japanese side. I mean, that's the kind of home win you take something from moving forward. And Japan, they're going to be in it. at the Olympics, and they're going to be tough to beat at the Olympics.
Yeah, you mentioned what would going down a goal felt like after the World Cup. I wonder what it would have felt like in the World Cup against this Japan side. Probably would have felt much different. Again, this Japan side was a team that mowed down Spain 4-0.
For sure. I believe, and folks can fact check me if I'm wrong in the comments. I think they're the only team that beat Spain in the World Cup. I think that was their only loss in the group stage, and obviously they won out the rest of the way. So Japan,
Oh yeah,
one of the best teams to watch always, and a tough loss in their second match against Brazil. Japan really could have won it. Fujino had a chance to score to put them up 2-0 in the first half. Japan could have won that match 3-1. Ended up losing it in penalties. But yeah, they're great and they'll be back. But moving ahead, USA versus Canada in the final. I think a few weeks ago in the CONCACAF W Gold Cup, I talked about USA's lopsided winning record versus Canada all time. I gotta say, man, I hate to kind of oscillate wildly on these takes, but Canada is really tough. I mean, I think I kind of jokingly said, like, what kind of rivalry is this? Like, look at the records. But man, Canada, I said it last time, I'll say it again. It continues to be true. Nothing has changed. They got a lot of good players over there on that team, and they played USA way tough in this one.
Yeah, I thought they looked better than they did in that Gold Cup.
Mm-hmm.
So I think even some improvement off of that. Thinking about the U.S., though, I got to say, I kind of like that they fell behind again in this one. Before we get into the match, though, very curious about this. Anything catch your attention regarding the lineups or formation? From my standpoint, obviously no Niswanger, Rodman not in the starting lineup. Horan kind of playing a little further away from goal, which I liked. I thought she was effective there. She kind of was playing some bully ball in the center of the park. And when she wasn't playing bully ball, she was drawing fouls. So
Yep.
It was all good there. And I think she obviously, had a big hand in that second Sophia Smith goal. But what was your take on the formation, the lineups? I think the announcing team mentioned this was the first time just that front three had played together.
Yeah.
Did you see it as kind of tinkering, or was this like tactical decision making from Twyla Kilgore?
I love it. I gotta think it's some of both. Obviously, I'll use that cop out answer. I think you hit the nail on the head. The Horan Shaw movement. I believe Julie Foudy called this out on the broadcast, where they're basically switching up and down the field from like Horan being the 10 to Shaw being the 10, and then Horan dropping back, like you said, maybe playing a little farther away from the goal. I thought that was awesome. That's a great look. That's got to be somewhat of a horrifying look too if you're a defender trying to make sure who you're checking. You see Shaw running upfield at you fast when you might not be expecting it at times. That can't feel great as a defender. I love the whole lineup. The back four, if I could back up real quick, the Gurma injury in the first match against Japan, what a sinking, terrible feeling that is. I can't imagine what it's like for her as an athlete and for her teammates. But I know as somebody who cares about the results of the U.S. women's national team, seeing Naomi Gurma go down, you don't want to see any player go down with an injury. But seeing her go down, especially living in the world of the ACL epidemic, that was horrifying. But after that digression, I'll to your point, the back four they played against Canada, from left to right, you have Dunn, Davidson, Dahlkemper, and Fox.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of intelligence, a lot of tenacity, a lot of speed. And then in those kind of holding defensive midfielders, you have Sam Coffey, who we're going to talk about more, who we love talking about on the show. I got to think she has quickly ascended to ITC favorite status.
Let's go.
You have Sam Coffey and Emily Sonnet back there as kind of your pivot holding defensive midfielders. You just got to love that, man. That like starting with the defense, kind of letting the defense set that tone. You can play from the back comfortably, but then you also know you're making it difficult for the other attackers.
Coffee and Sonnet, couple of dogs back there.
For sure.
I thought Crystal Dunn was playing, we see this too from Niswanger, playing kind of way up the field. And I think they're trusting what essentially for a lot of the match becomes the back three.
Yep.
Now that gets strengthened when you have Gurma in there. I thought Davidson, she hasn't quite hit the level that she did in the Gold Cup. She was a little sharper in the Gold Cup.
Sure.
Fox, I think she's just a lock. She's just
Always.
like so rock solid. Dahlkemper, I thought she was really good too. Definitely held it down. Yeah, I loved the back four. And then between the posts, when you got Alyssa Naeher, I mean,
let's go.
I want to fast forward real quick to the penalty kicks.
Sure.
Just the fact when she gets a save and then she stomps her feet, walk into the spot. It's like, no bullshit. I'm just going to go and smash it in and just stomp my way back. It's such an emotional pull and it just must deflate the other team just to see her controlling essentially a sequence of 3 kicks, one that she defends, one that she takes, and then one that she defends. We're just like, okay, it's Alyssa Naeher time.
Yep.
It's been awesome to see her just put her imprint all over these PKs, because it's not the second time we've had to do this with Canada. I don't know. She's just such an emotional powerhouse. Like, I don't know. There's no other way to explain it.
100%. I mean, she's just a complete brick wall. I can't remember who I saw say it on Twitter, so apologies if they're a viewer of the program. Is she the best penalty taker on the squad?
I don't have it off the top, but she's a no doubter.
100%.
Of the people that go up and you walk up and you a big deep breath, a big exhale. She ain't doing none of that. She's stomping and she's just like right up to the ball, just smack it. The energy of it, the optics of it, I don't know. They're just kind of earth shaking. So maybe if she's not the best, she's the most impactful.
I like that. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, no stutter step from Alyssa Naeher. None of the big step. No herky jerky bullshit. She just runs up and blasts it. I would say I think she's in the running. Lindsey Horan feels automatic when she's up there. So I would say I think Horan might be the best penalty taker, but Nair's in the conversation. And you're totally right. Like, save, score, save. At some point, the other team just has to be looking at each other like, I mean, okay, what do we do with this now? Like, this is crazy. Now, who's the next person to go up and kick? And she's just going to glare at you. She's going to dive right and you're going to kick it right at her. Because that seems to be her MO at this point.
Definitely a magnet. I thought it was a great showing from the U.S. And we talked about this a little bit earlier. I thought Canada played really, really well.
Yeah.
Like Adriana Leon, she was great. And I kind of felt like Japan lost control of the match pretty early. Yeah. Canada was able to hang in much longer. And I think just the physicality from them was really impressive. Just our inability to bully them or run past them. Like, those 50-50 balls were true 50-50. And I always get interested when you see players like Lindsey Horan sort of take fouls, draw fouls in the midfield, because that's kind of like the optimal play in that moment. It's like, I'm not going to beat this person just because I'm better than them. I need to draw a foul here. And that's how we kind of keep possession, keep control of the match. I thought that really reflected really well on Canada.
Yeah, they have a great composure about them. I'll point out, so I think it's eight or nine players who appeared for Canada in the SheBelieves Cup this year played on that gold medal winning squad in the 2020 Olympic Games, the 2020 Olympics that were played in 2021 because of some world event that happened. I can't quite recall what it was. But, I mean, just off the top, I mean, Janine Becky, Kadisha Buchanan, Gabby Carl, who barely played in 2020 because she was very young, but still she was on the squad. Jessie Fleming, Vanessa Gilles, Julia Grosso, Jordan Heitema, Ashley Lawrence, Adriana Leon, Deanne Rose, and Evelyn Viennes. Viennes was another player who was very young, didn't play that much. But, like, these were players who stood on the podium and got a gold medal. That's a lot of good players, a lot of players who remain in their prime. And Quinn didn't even appear. They're out with a concussion. So Quinn's going to come back for the next Olympic run.
Yep.
I mean, I'll just say it again. I know I'm stating the obvious. That team is really fucking good. And Simi Awujo out of the University of Southern California, that's a player now. She's only 20. I am very interested. I mean, you check the FootMob app, you check Football Reference. I was like, she doesn't play for a club? Like, this doesn't even make any sense. I was Googling around and I was like, oh, she plays at USC. Okay, then. I would imagine we'll have to hit up our guy Chris from Soccer Dossier, as all of you should if you have interest in the NWSL draft. We have to see when she's going to go in the draft because I think she's a good player.
Yeah, 100%. I think they also had Jade Rose is her name?
Yeah, Jade Rose in the defense, yep.
Yeah, so she got a few mentions also. I mean, she was super tough. Like, I think...
hell yeah.
Some of these defenders, it kind of reminds me of the conversation that we were having last week about defending Atemo Chawinga and then going out and being like, who can we get to do that? You look at like a player like Jade Rose or on Brazil, Tarciane, who's just the same kind of like, I mean, what do you... like tough to kind of like get what you want against a defender like that. Yeah, I thought it was a really great showing from Canada after they totally kind of limped out of the 2023 World Cup.
Yeah.
So I think they're definitely on the upswing considering what they did in the Gold Cup and again in this SheBelieves Cup. Okay, coming up, we're going to draft our U.S. Women's National Team fantasy roster. 18 spots and some really, really good players will not make the cut. They will not make our cut. And we're going to talk about all of our options there. That should be a lot of fun. We're also going to talk a little Euro qualifiers as well. And we're going to celebrate big time the 2 African nations that punched their ticket to Paris to compete in this summer's 2024 Olympics. Congratulations, Zambia. Congratulations, Nigeria. So, like if you liked, and subscribe if you enjoyed talking a little USWNT with your boys.
Yep, appreciate you guys joining us. Get out there, smell the azaleas. Maybe hit an amen corner kick, if you will, if you want to mix golf and football. But stick with us. We'll be talking all that stuff that Dino mentioned, and we will see you guys there.